Ghost Cult Magazine is super honored to be welcomed in by musician Joe Barksdale. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am awesome today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to share your story. So much to unpack. Of course, we're in these pandemic times, unfortunately, still. So of course, I don't want to lose that human element. So I know I sound a little bit like a broken record to our viewers, but of course, I want to know that you're well, your family, your friends, any of your collaborators. I hope everybody is in one piece. It has been a challenging time to say the least.
Yeah, it's been wild. I would say the thing that the COVID pandemic has taught me more than anything is like I've never been happier to not have that many friends and no family. Like it's just not that many people you got to check on. But yes, everyone is doing well. We actually just recently got two new puppies. They're doing well too. So
Awesome, man. Pets are almost better than people sometimes. So you've improved addition without subtraction. I like that.
yeah.
Pets are great. And for those that don't know you, you've been making music for a long time, but you are a former NFL player, and obviously, besides the music industry, who has had, and obviously the healthcare field, but who has had a challenge like sports, right? So I'm
Mm.
sure at this time in your life and career, you're like, boy, I'm glad I'm not trying to deal with these protocols and trying to actually you might have had to make a tough choice personally, like a lot of people did, to not participate, right? Or to do it and be afraid.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm just glad. I mean, even before the COVID stuff, like, I couldn't imagine doing. I was miserable. I don't know if that's a secret anymore when it comes to my playing career. So, I mean, this statement is morbid, but this may have been like having to go to a job that made you miserable and having to go through the COVID protocol stuff may have been just the perfect cocktail for another suicide attempt.
Oh, yeah,
You
I'm
know?
so sorry. Yeah, for sure. And of course, you've been very frank about, mental health and mental well-being and not, this is a thing I think we've all learned in this last year. A lot of people are finally saying it's okay to not be okay, and especially for men, although I'm not going to cry on shoulders too much about this because just the world is the world, but like I think for a long time, at least I think you and I are close, not that close in age, but not that far apart, where we grew up in a similar generation where it was not cool for men to be sensitive and not cool to say, hey, I'm having problems and struggles, and not talk about depression and not talk about, thoughts of suicide and other self-harm. We, for whatever reason, I was like, don't cry, you sissy, like my whole childhood from my mean dad, rest in peace. And, that's just who we were. We just bottled a lot of stuff up inside. And you've been, very frank about talking about your struggles, but also your victories and your triumphs. I think your music is a big triumph, and sometimes just being is okay. And maybe because part and parcel of your upbringing and your life in sports, there's a lot of expectations, and expectations can be met with varying results, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, we all have to try to find like happiness and self-acceptance is so hard.
Agreed. And honestly, that was one of the reasons why I got into comedy too, to piggyback off what you were talking about, just being able to since I'm frankly saying it anyway, it doesn't always have to rhyme. It could be funny. So yeah, I mean, I echo everything that you said. And that is also why I started doing comedy. I actually have my first professional show tomorrow night. So
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
thank you.
I always, like I love comedy. Comedy is a great release, just like music, and I find a lot of similarities in comedy and music. So I wish you the best. That's
Thank
sounds
you.
terrifying but awesome.
Thank you.
I had a bunch of music questions for you, but of course, who do you have any favorite current or
Richard
historic
Pryor.
comedians? Of course, the greatest.
Richard Pryor, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Roy Wood Jr., Gaston Almonte. Um,
Nice.
those are people that
Just
came.
ready
Yeah,
with that. I like it. Yeah, I love all those. Grew up listening to Richard. Love Chappelle. Chappelle's like my new Carlin, basically. He's like that
got him
center.
too.
He's that center of intelligence and just current events and politics and life, and he's just real. I love Chappelle.
Mm.
I'm so glad he came back actually, and he's a guy to look up to. Like, here's a guy who literally had, similar to a sports career, humongous expectations, tremendous success. A lot of people always telling him how great he was, and then it kind of fell apart, and he retreated for a while for himself. Like, he didn't owe any. He still doesn't owe anyone an explanation or a reason or whatever You know, like it's weird how entertainers and sports and music and comedy is all entertainment, right? It's weird how they're on a pedestal and have weird higher expectations, I guess because of fans. But it's weird how there's a whole nother set of pressures. Like once you get any kind of acclaim, you don't want to disappoint anybody, let alone yourself. So it's like insane.
Well, I mean, the Chappelle thing was, I think I would look at it kind of similar to Richard Pryor because he had a similar moment in his career. I mean, so did Dwayne The Rock Johnson, so did Drake. I think they just got to a point where it's like, this is not what I want to be remembered for. Now, granted, Chappelle and Richard Pryor stayed in comedy. They just started doing it a little bit differently, doing it their way, that kind of thing. But I think it's the same story. I mean, it's the same reason why I left the NFL. This isn't what I want to be remembered for, and I'm miserable, doing it this way. And even if I'm gonna be miserable, I may as well be miserable doing it the way I want to do it, or doing what I want to do, because like Dwayne Johnson and Drake, Dwayne left wrestling at the height of his wrestling career. People called him stupid until he started making 59 movies a year. But and the same thing with Drake. Like nobody knew who Drake was as an artist. Everyone was referring to him as the dude from Degrassi. So
Yes.
I do think I'm very thankful for all four of those people, as well as everybody else that's done it, because it gives people like me hope. Because if I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not like I wake up every day like, leaving football was the best decision of my life. But I do know that as long as I don't quit, I will be waking up one day saying that.
Yeah, right on. And of course, and not to mention that you left early when you still had your health. Maybe, weren't feeling the best. Your mental health is certainly as important as your physical health. But, obviously there's also a lot of, we're not going to unpack that today. It's not your responsibility to talk about that, but there's a lot going on in professional sports right now about the long-term health and care for players. Right along the same lines as veterans. We don't take care of anybody in our society particularly well who has problems, but, I know there are inherent risks with sports. So, you made the right move for you. No one has a right to judge you. You seem like you're doing a lot better. I'm happy you're here. I love this music you're making, and we're going to talk a lot more about that in a second. But yeah, I appreciate you just in general, just putting it out there on Main Street for a lot of people. I think it's going to serve as an inspiration to a lot of other people, which is important because, like I said, I think we are in a weird space as men. And again, I know it could sound really bad if I go too far down that rabbit hole, and I don't mean it that way, but I just feel like there's several generations in a row of men who are just like, you cannot show weakness, you cannot be soft, you cannot be hurt, you can't be. I've struggled with anxiety and depression my whole life. Anybody that knows me knows that. I talk about it on my shows and interviews and news things, and I make a lot of jokes. Comedy is a great release, stress valve to release that stuff. But these are real problems, and we all have real lives, and outside of whatever else you're trying to pursue artistically, you still have to live. We have to get up every day and do adult things and have relationships and mow the lawn and, pay bills.
Right.
And it's tough. Life goes on. We have to all cope. We're all, like I said, this last year, I think has made people more aware than ever. Like, oh, I should be in touch with my feelings a little more and be aware and cognizant of how I'm doing. Oh, I'm not doing too well. Oh, this whole thing is really affecting me mentally. Like, people haven't had a hug for a year. They haven't shook a hand for a year, gave a pound, haven't broed out with their friends. Nobody's gotten together with their girlfriends for a girls' night out because we just couldn't, and it like human contact is really important despite all this awesome social media and digital world, this matrix we're all living in. The real world is important. Like, there's something missing there. We're all going to suffer for it. We're probably going to have a bunch of problems in a few years from it.
I would think so. I mean, you never, it will be interesting to see what happens as a result of this. I just hope, I hope we can learn from it because, and I'm glad that my daughters are as young as they are because I couldn't imagine, trying to explain that to like a middle schooler or a high schooler, that kind of thing. But I do hope that we learn from it and that this does not happen again.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. Jury's out. We're still not out of it. And I know that a lot of people also have fatigue from it, just everything, financial, mentally, emotional, lack of comfort and touch and humanity. But like we have to be strong a little bit longer to work through it a little more before we go back to partying. It's not there yet. But yeah, man, I really appreciate this music. You've been really prolific. At least it seems that way. At least from a release standpoint, you've been putting out a lot of singles. You put out this new record, Omari, which I'm really enjoying, man. Just came out this month, and it's very, again, much like you. It's just all out there. It's very autobiographical. It's talking about real issues. It's got great music, but there's also like a really strong message there.
It's also I mean, I guess I'll start from the top. You talk about Omari. I don't know if you noticed the track list. Like if you look at the track list, the first letter of each word spell out Kanye West. Omari's his middle name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, well, you hear it in the album. Like, he was one of my biggest artistic influences, and this was me showing where I'm coming from in terms of that. And also near the end of it, you kind of get where I'm trying to go. And like this month, it'll be George Lucas, so that album will be called Walton for his middle name. Then the Jimi Hendrix, then Marvin Gaye. So I'm really excited about it. I realize that more than anything, people connect with the story, because a lot of people, I'm talking about my story, because a lot of people who have been in similar situations, they either don't have a voice or they've been beaten to shit to where they don't want to talk about it anymore, or whatever the case may be. And that motivates me to talk a little bit more, like be that much more open for the people who can't be.
Nice, man. That's important, and that's some brainy stuff there. That I love it. Straight up ready to nerd out on all of that. Great choices and great story. Yeah, of course, the Kanye thing is on. Maybe it's it's not. You don't have to spell everything out for people. You can let them learn on their own too. But I appreciate that you did. Yeah, like the Kanye thing. He is arguably the biggest star person ever to talk about like be very open about his issues, and whether he's dealing with them or not is not up to us to judge. He has to do what's right for him. I've seen that there's been a lot of concern about him, and the media is not always helpful. Also, with celebrity and media are a very toxic combination. So my hope is that he's getting help and well. I know his even in the midst of all this turmoil in his life, he put out a huge album, right? And he was doing these Sunday sermons and these big events and getting very like weirdly close and personal with fans in a great way. You never see a superstar person that accessible in a lot of ways. And I'm sure he had his team around him and his security and a buffer of people, but like, really shocking in a positive way, shocking stuff that you don't see it in rock, you don't see it in rap, you don't see it in pop music. You don't see pop stars like really put themselves out there for better or worse,
Yeah, you don't see it yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that just like with anything else in music, like even if you just look at Kanye West, like the way that he made, I'm not calling it emotional rap, but he was rapping about more than, like growing up in the hood or, selling drugs, shooting guns, being gang affiliated. And I think that spectrum of rap that he helped open up paved the way for cats like Drake, Kid Cudi, Travis Scott, and shit, me, like,
Yes.
so I do think that the same way that, he opened that up, I think, people will they'll see him interacting with fans. They'll see the response that he gets, the connection that they make, and other people will start to do it, whether it's people that are on his level or people that are on my level or anywhere in between. Like, I would argue that, because that's something that I can tell you I'll probably be doing just based off what I do. I'm already super intimate in the comedy clubs anyway. But yeah, I think there's something to be said about that personal connection that you make with people. And I can say that from the standpoint of a fan, like I'm fans of certain people, that kind of thing. Like Richard Pryor. I remember reading this book. I actually have it right here, Pryor Convictions.
Nice.
And I remember thinking, like, I felt like I was reading what I wrote, if that makes any sense. But it really connected with me. And it also, I don't know, it connected with me, and it also motivated me to keep going, because it's cool to see people who are like you that were able to deal with what you deal with and keep it moving and still chase their dreams. So I'm trying to follow in that too.
Awesome, man. I will highly recommend the Paul Mooney biography that talks heavily about his relationship with Richard. And Rocky, Richard was married to one of his sisters, I think several times. And Paul was really helped him, grow in a bigger sense, and both of them helped each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great book. Yeah, Richard, I grew up listening to, along with like, Steve Martin and Carlin and stuff like that. My dad was a big comedy guy. My mean dad was also big into laughter. So yin yang, but interestingly enough, like Kanye started out not a front man, not a star, not an MC. He was really a producer and a DJ and a musician, and that's when he started making tracks with Jay-Z and other artists, and on the Rockefeller label and stuff like that. And I wonder if you have similar ambitions, because I know you make a lot of tracks, and I wonder if someday you like working your way up to sort of being your own spitter of rhymes yourself.
Oh, like a rapper?
Yeah.
Nah. I think more than anything. So I do have a rapper that I work with. His name is Kyle Morgan. He's out of Detroit. And I think he's getting like I don't know, I can't put a time on this, but I think he's gonna be big one day, like really big. So when it comes to like beats that people will rap over, I'll produce something for Kyle, or I'll produce something for other people to rap over. I mean, I'm not a rapper. Y'all don't want to hear about what I got to rap about. Actually, okay. And as I said that, I did write a rap song, and it may be on the album after my next like studio guitar album. So I will let you know. So, but I don't know. I'll say that, because a couple years ago you couldn't have told me I'd be playing guitar and singing. So
Right on. Beside the row of lightsabers behind you, if you were, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but if you were going to pick up an instrument, or go to the desk to write, do you pick up the guitar first? Do you make a beat first? Is it whatever inspires you? What is your process like when you just any day you wake up to make music?
doing what feels natural. My process is funny, like it's my process, so I don't have to explain it. I mean, I don't have to
Yeah, sure, for sure.
preface it, but I want it to feel natural. I look at making music like taking a shit. You're digesting all these different things, and you're putting something out. And just like with music, your first shit, it's a little bit more difficult than the second, a little bit more difficult than the third. You get into a rhythm, you know what works to get your bowels moving, all that kind of stuff. So I say that to say that it's just I first and foremost I try to get in touch with how I feel, because that's going to determine what the music sounds like. And once I can hold on to a feeling or an emotion or a memory or a theory or whatever, then I'll maybe I pick up the drum machine first and do a beat, find a good tempo, or maybe I'll pick up a guitar first. Maybe I'm actually learning how to play piano now too. So sometimes I maybe grab the keyboard or a bass, start with a bass line, but I don't like to have the cookie cutter, like, well, first I start with the drums and program those, and then because I feel like all my shit's gonna start sounding like that.
Right on, right on. I dig that. You got to work that musical sphincter correctly. I hear you.
That's right.
And maybe it's like a baby. When you first start, it just comes out, and it comes out because you just open you open it, and then you open the diaper, and there it all is. And then later on in life, it's more of a process. But yeah, I appreciate that. It's hard to difficult to sometimes discern or break it down. And yeah, I appreciate any, just a peek inside. I appreciate that. It's not always easy to articulate. For anybody, you ask a painter how they get started. I don't know, one brush stroke, one color. I don't know. Yeah. How do you start anything in life? How do you start a business? How do you start anything? So super cool. Congrats on the piano. It's I always feel like guitar and piano are such a good base. Like any cooking, the right spices. It just starts with something, a beat, a note, a chord.
Well, for me, so I will say that for me, it starts with a feeling or an emotion.
Word. I love that. And there's a lot of old school kind of flavor. I feel like your stuff works today. I think it works historically. And I think maybe very similar to Kanye in his beginning, when he started to make his own music, it was very like about his life experience and about the streets, but also he filtered that through like all his experience as a musician and a fan. So like I hear a lot of your influences. You talk about gospel, old school R&B, early hip hop, stuff like that. That's all in there, but it doesn't sound, none of it sounds dated. The samples don't sound like redone. I'm it's a lot of new, but with the old flavor, which I really like.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because that's like my style personally that I like gravitate to in music anyway. Everything, not just, hip hop, but anything I like is kind of like that that straddles that border for me. So it just happens to cater to me. But like, I dig that you put that into your music.
Yeah, and I dig it too because, like you were talking about, like you listen to everything. So you listen to a song like, oh, I can hear this influence, I can hear that influence. But I think that on a bigger scale, like as far as like a group of people are concerned, the fans become like a Venn diagram. Like you'll get people, and this isn't for me. Yeah, it'll make sense at the end. It's a Venn diagram. Like some people will come, oh, this sounds a little bluesy. This sounds a little like rock. Sounds a little rappy. Sounds a little whatever. But it's bringing all those people together. And hopefully those people can come together at a concert and realize that we're all the fucking same. Like, you know, we're all human beings. We all want to love and be loved, regardless of what you listen to, who you voted for. I mean, what your philosophy, your theology, whatever. Like, we're all human beings that want to love and be loved and be understood. So hopefully all of those different genres that I pull from can bring all of those different fans of those genres together, you know.
Nice. Furthermore, on just kind of also straddling this musical thing, but also the personal stories. You talk a lot about your family and your upbringing in there. Was there any fear about putting that stuff out there? Did your family have any strong reactions when they heard this record or these
Oh, I
songs?
cut my family off. I don't
Did
have,
you? Okay.
yeah, like when it comes to, I have my aunt, my Gaga that I talk about in one of those songs that I released for this George Lucas thing. Um, uh, but yeah, like I don't know if you know, I'm also on the autism spectrum. So I look at everything logically. And I feel like just because we have the same biology doesn't mean you get to continue to be toxic and fuck me over and rob me, among other things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No. Listen, I'm right there with you. I have some. We all have some family we're not talking to anymore. So again, thanks for putting that out there. I appreciate you sharing. It can't be easy. And
Oh no, it's very honestly, I'll say this, cutting them off was one of the happiest days of my life. Like I don't remember the last time I breathed a sigh of relief that big.
then you did it right. That's anything you can look back on in life. It's all about moving forward. And again, I appreciate that you're using art to tell this narrative of your life. And of course, it's not easy, but you got to make the moves that are sometimes the best move is not the easy thing; it's the hard thing, right?
Yeah, that's true. Because nothing worth doing is easy. Like I tell people that all the time. Like coming's not easy. Like it's not, like nothing worth doing is easy.
That's true. That's totally true. So we got this Kanye record basically, and then the Lucas record is next. And so what's the without going through the whole breaking it all down before we've heard songs or anything? What is like Lucas mean to you that you would throw him in there with Jimmy and Kanye?
So Star Wars in general has been huge for me. Being autistic, I learned a lot about life, emotions, human beings through a TV screen or a video screen. Like I remember when Mr. Rogers died, I was very sad, very sad. Like I cried a lot.
Mm.
So I would say George Lucas, just as the director that believed in his project so much, in the first Star Wars ever that was made, that's where it all really started with. And I just remember seeing it, and it was something that I had never seen before. I was not familiar with Dune at the time. And if I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not had a chance to read that book yet. So I'm still not that familiar, but it was something I'd never seen before, but something I've always wanted to see something like this. And so, I mean, kudos to him for creating something like that. And then also, as it continued to grow, George Lucas had the realization, hey, and look, I'm not trying to take shots at J.K. Rowling, but hey, maybe I don't know everything about how best to grow this. Let me get some other people around so that I don't bastardize what people used to love as kids. That's a whole nother story. But, so that's really where it came from for me, just, the dealing with the space. And then as you get into like the Sith and the Jedi, I've always identified with the Sith, talking about holding on to your pain and your anger to make you stronger and never forgetting people who screwed you up. Like all that kind of shit is how I live. My first 30 years of my existence were based on revenge, and I'm 32. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow.
but yeah, like so that and just the effect that it had on me, the different moral values that it taught me. Of course it's just fun to watch. The message of hope, all that kind of stuff, it's been everything to me. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a great playground he gave us, and I will never be mad at him or understand people who are just mad at him for whatever, he gave us a gift, and I'm a huge Star Wars person as well. I'm here for it, and I don't understand people who, what sometimes like I think maybe the one problem we all have in a way, and again, this is we could do a whole interview on this, but I think something that's come up a lot lately is so like you mentioned J.K. Rowling or Lucas or whoever, Star Wars, whatever. Like if you identify with something, if you love something really passionately, and you build your personal identity around it, and then it changes, you're left kind of holding the bag emotionally or mentally or so it's like, is this where you want to, like I don't want to spend my energy being very angry at George Lucas on the internet because of something that somebody else did. I
Right.
just love Star Wars. I just want to love Star Wars, man. I love The Mandalorian. I love the movies. I didn't hate Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi or anything, Clone Wars. I have no time for that
It's
stuff. I'm
cool.
just enjoying whatever's coming out.
It seems like it's cool for cats to be angry, but like you said, that's not cool. Like I'm with you. Like, and
Yeah.
this is from someone who will watch a movie and like, yeah, everyone talks shit, but it's not like I'm getting on social media like you
Right.
said, like, oh, this is bullshit.
It's not going to
Yeah,
ruin my day because
exactly.
I didn't like the ending of the movie.
And I'm
It's
not
like,
gonna try to ruin anyone else's day either because I
no.
don't
And
like it.
anybody just out there, just in a general sense, watching this interview, if you spoil something for somebody and share it before most people have, like social media is faster than people go to the movies, especially now in this time of the world in the pandemic. So, like, if you spoil something for somebody, if you do spoilers, you're a dick, straight up,
I'll
man or
say
woman,
I'll say
anybody
what he's
else.
not gonna say. You do spoilers, fuck you. All right.
Word. Yeah, I'll say it. That's fine. No spoilers, anybody, please. But yeah, man, that's cool. And then Jimmy's next. Jimmy to me is still the greatest guitarist ever. He moved the instrument and music forward. I don't think he was like an earthling. I think he literally came from another world to do this for us. Like he heard stuff in his head that hadn't been done before, and then he made it happen, which is insane to me. Now, there've been other people, and Miles Davis, Quincy Jones, Billie Holiday, Eddie Van Halen, but like Jimmy, man, that's another great one that you picked.
He was the inspiration for this whole thing in the first place. Just like I released my first album, Butterflies, Rainbows, and Moonbeams, and
Mm,
even the second one, Electric Soul.
mm,
Very proud of both of those projects. They were not the sounds I heard in my head. It wasn't until Sincerely that I started getting there. And then it was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to do it myself as a producer. And when I started producing my own stuff, that's when I started hearing the stuff that hearing the stuff that I heard, if that makes any sense. So yeah, those kind of things really speak to me because it lets me know that I'm not that crazy. I'm
nice.
crazy, but I'm not that crazy.
Right
You
on, right on. Do you have a favorite Jimmy song that you like to play, or just your favorite song to listen
When
to?
Cries Mary.
Word. That's a good one.
It goes back to what you were talking about. Like it was earlier in his career, full of emotion, very sweet ballad, very unique. It was just fucking good. Like I don't think I've heard a song since with two verses, solo, two verses. You know, and I don't know. Anyway, I love that song. I've probably heard every single way you could hear that song, like live in Dallas in '68 or whatever. I've heard them all. I love that song.
Nice. Yeah, I think I had a period of time about 20 years ago where I had like a ton of Hendrix bootlegs. Me and my best friend, who I started playing music with way back in the day, we used to bug out on Hendrix a lot and learn all his stuff and things. And yeah, Jimmy's a great place. And then refresh me for a second. Your fourth album that's coming last in this series.
Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, of course, Marvin, who another one snuffed out too young. Taken from us. We got robbed because imagine what he would be doing today or 20 years ago. He was still doing really cool visionary stuff right when
Yeah.
he passed.
And I identify with like his fucked up upbringing too, and the way he was able to. I mean, more than the other three, Marvin was able to take those voices and use them to harmonize and make beautiful music and say what say what he wanted to say and speak his truth. And it was yeah, Marvin Gaye is one of the I mean, clearly all four of these dudes are like, big pillars in my music, but I connect with on an even deeper level with him. He grew up in a religious household and was taught a bastardized version of his religion, toxic family, all that kind of stuff. It's people like him, Kanye West. I mean, all of those cats, like I identify with them. And even when Kanye has like did you see what Kanye West said? Did you see what he did? It's weird because every time he has one of those snap off situations, I'm on his side. Like when he snapped on Sway in the morning, I remember I was listening to that interview like it was yesterday. And he's like, yeah, Sway, it's really hard for me to try to, I wonder if Kanye's autistic. Anyway, yeah, Sway, it's really hard for me to try to get this clothing brand thing off the ground. And I've been put millions of dollars into it. And Sway's sitting there trying to give him responses as opposed to just listening to what the fuck he's saying. So when Kanye was like, shut the fuck up, you don't have the answers. I'm like, yeah, shut the fuck up.
Right.
And it
right.
wasn't until like later on, and you know, oh, that was wrong. You're not supposed to yell at Sway. But I'm like, fuck that. I don't know. Like, if this man has the ability to continue to try to, you know, marginalize the things that I'm going through by giving me bullshit answer after bullshit answer, I have the right to tell him to shut the fuck up.
Right on. I think, as I said right before we started recording this, that there are dickhead interviewers and there are people who are trying to actually have a conversation. So on one hand, as a journalist, he may have had like, oh, I'm here to get these responses today. I had an agenda, which I try not to have an agenda. I don't think it's helpful to getting your story out and sharing what I can add to that, you know, as a listener and, you know, a conduit, if anything, with my channel. But like, yeah, I hear you. Like, you know, sometimes you got to just read the room. I had an interview about a year and a half ago that's going to finally run soon because I honestly didn't know what to do with it. I interviewed a very famous guy who's been around about 40 something years. He's done like post-punk, new wave, and metal in his career. Genius guy. He composes symphonies. He's also in sort of an industrial metal band. And he just talked for an hour. I started the conversation like I did with you. What's up? How you doing? How's everything going? And then he just went. And I realized rather than try to break in and stop him or change it, just let him go. Let him do his thing without judgment and just see what happens. Because sometimes you have to read the subject and read the, you know, it's not so cold and analytical. It's like, I'm trying to help you tell your story. So I said that day he wanted to just be heard and not conversate. So I shut up. His publicist was in the room with me and I didn't say another word. And I just sat there for like an hour. Right? Word? Okay. And that's what I did. Sometimes you have to just let somebody let it out. And if you can make something with it, you know, you can make something with it. And if you can't, you can't. So that's finally coming out on our channel. But
and no salt to Sway, because Sway is, you know.
No, yeah. Oh, he's a legend. Guy's a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. It's just, I know what that feels like to be not only misunderstood. You get to a point where not only do you not feel like someone is understanding what you're saying, but because they keep trying to hit you with all these solutions, it's like you don't even care. And you go from very quickly, like, okay, this hurts my feelings a little bit, and I'm frustrated. Those are just gonna combine into anger. Now I'm pissed. And now I'm very pissed. And now I'm pissed that I'm pissed. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know how that goes because shit, I've done it. Like, I know people haven't seen it. It hasn't happened on national television, but like that R&B's album was step one. I believe it's 17 songs on there. Step 1 through 17 of me working my way out of a fucking psychotic depressive break. So I understand, you know, I mean, I've lost friends too because of my mental illness, not in the same way Kanye West has, but like I had to find a new godfather for my youngest daughter because her goddad didn't get it. And it is what it is. But those kind of events, I'm thankful for them because they also inspire me to keep talking.
Nice, man. Well, I appreciate that you're down to share all this. I think it is valuable. I think other people are going to find this and hopefully see this interview and find your music and get some strength from it and, you know, find their own way to voice their truth. And, you know, like I said, unfortunately, sometimes you're going to be left and abandoned. Sometimes you're going to lose people along the way who don't get it or can't go on the rest of the journey with you. But the main thing is that you're here. You're doing positive, beautiful stuff with your music, and hopefully your comedy starting tomorrow out there. And yeah, man, it's important to just.
Oh no, I've done probably about like 30 sets already.
Oh, all right, cool. Well, how much? Just one, just a little bit backtracking for a second. How much? How much of a set do you have? Do you have like 5, 10, 20 minutes, or what do you have?
No, I've probably. You talking about tomorrow?
Yeah, like just in general.
Tomorrow I've got like I think it's a 7 to 10 minute set. I'm gonna do the whole 10, but. Like, I can show you, and this is probably the autism too. I pick up on things quick. So this is, I just typed in all of my jokes into this material counter.
Nice.
This is all my material.
Dope.
Yeah. So I got,
a lot.
A couple hours in there.
Yeah, sure. Wow. Okay.
And this is all proven stuff. So like getting robbed. Sorry, I was reading one of them. I got robbed at the bus
Go
stop.
ahead. Give us one if you don't mind.
What's a good one? Okay, I'll just read you that one. I was so broke growing up that I used to get unrobbed. What would begin as a robbery would end up with the thief giving me my empty wallet back and telling me to stay in school. I'd be waiting at the bus stop at night. Hey, little nigga, don't turn around. I got a gun and I use it. I just got out of jail. I can't find a job. I don't give a fuck. Give me your wallet. Damn. All that's in here is a library card. You too poor for an identification card? God damn. Hey, man, here's $5. Stay in school, bro. Don't turn around for another 5 minutes. That's a true story.
That feels like my life a little bit. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm from the Bronx, New York, and we grew up with nothing. But
so you know, yeah.
I know very well. But that's amazing, dude. Joe, thank you so much for sharing your story with me and us today. And I just want to wish you the best and all the best success. Keep your head up. Keep finding your truth and keep pushing your story and your narrative. And I'm sure all the best things will keep coming to you, man.
Thank you, man. Same to you.
Thanks, brother. I'm trying. I do every day what I do.
Same here.